Coming up on the podcast today, we'll look back on Uta Takami's homecoming show and both parts of the Organizing Festival. Yes, that's right, there were 3 shows this past weekend. We'll also preview Step Forward 2.5, cover a bunch of match announcements that came out, and check in on loads of graduates and loads of excursions that have been taking place. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa! And welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zeich, and a happy Thanksgiving to all of you, at least all of you in America and the States that are celebrating Thanksgiving. I hope you really enjoyed the holiday. I hope it was filled with family, food, friends, whatever it is that you do to celebrate. Personally, I had a very low-key Thanksgiving, but very, very grateful for all of you listening to the show, supporting the show. It means a lot to me. I know that the Thanksgiving week, the Thanksgiving weekends are always a really big time for wrestling. This year in particular, we had AEW Full Gear the weekend before. Survivor Series is, Saturday, so tomorrow by the time this episode comes out. So looking forward to that show as well. But all that being said, I really appreciate you carving out some of your time this weekend for this podcast, for listening to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, and for watching some TJPW in a very busy week. And I mean that pun intended, of course, carving out time, turkeys carving, get it? Anyway, today we are going to review Uta Takami's homecoming show, her first ever homecoming show that she got. Congrats to Uta. We're also going to chat through the results from both parts of the Organizing Festival that took part. Only one of them has been released on Wrestle Universe, though, so we'll only be able to really discuss one in a lot of depth. The other one will have to wait until it comes. It's actually coming out the day that this releases, but as I'm recording this, it is not yet available. So we'll have to cover the part 2 of the Organizing Festival on next week's show. But that's all fine and dandy because we are also going to preview Step Forward 2.5 today. So on next week's show, we'll just have 2 shows to end up reviewing, which will work out really well. Also this week, we have a boatload of match announcements that we can talk about for upcoming shows. There's also been a lot of wrestling taking place outside of the TJPW ring that we can talk about, so we'll check in on all of that in just a little bit. We are full steam ahead on the holiday season. Whatever it is that you celebrate, I really can't believe that the December holidays are almost here. They're really only 2 to 3 weeks away, and then before we know it, it's 2026, which is crazy. I feel like 2025 just happened. I feel like WrestleMania in Las Vegas just happened. I've been talking to a few friends that I spoke with in Las Vegas, and it truly feels like we were just there only a few short months ago, but here we are. WrestleMania in 2026 in Las Vegas is really almost upon us in about 5 months. Wild for me to think about. But TJPW, the schedule will roll on here. It is still a little bit funky as we kind of round out the year. We have mostly VODs coming in the next couple of weeks. We do have 2 pay-per-views as well, which we'll talk about. And then we're going to return towards live shows a little bit later in the month. I think the Christmas show is the next one that will be streamed live on Wrestle Universe. So I'm going to do my best to cover all of these shows as the release schedules for the VODs permit, and also just holiday travel. I'm going to be doing some traveling myself as we get closer to the end of December, the middle of December. So I'm going to do my best to make sure we're covering all of these on the podcast. The podcast may be a little bit shorter or longer or what have you as the weeks to come, but it will be releasing every Friday still in the month of December. And on top of that, I actually have something really special coming up next week for the December monthly bonus episode. If you remember, the November monthly bonus was the beginner's guide. I hope you guys are getting some really good use out of that. I will be releasing the December monthly bonus already, just because I'm really, really excited about it. I actually have our first interview on the show that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you all. It was a really wonderful conversation, and that's going to be releasing at some point next week, so please look forward to that. With all that holiday talk out of the way, let's jump into some Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. There were quite a lot of announcements in the last week or so. We have so many match announcements for upcoming shows, and the way that I've bucketed these are the dates that the shows will be airing. So we'll start with the OchaPro Corcoran show. This is going to be taking place on Sunday, December 7th, so really just about a week or so away now. This will be at Corcoran Hall in Tokyo. TJPW has announced that this OchaPro Corcoran show will be pay-per-view on Wrestle Universe, so it will not stream with your Wrestle Universe subscription. You're going to have to pay an additional fee to watch this show. The fee isn't too much. It is 3,000 yen, which is like a little bit under $20, so really not too costly, especially considering that TJPW provides the vast majority of their shows every year for free. I would say maybe, not for free, but on Wrestle Universe, I would say maybe 90 to 95% of their shows, including their big three shows, the Summer Sun Princess, Grand Princess, and Wrestle Princess. So to be able to pay less than $20 for a pay-per-view show for TJPW is really not breaking the bank too much by my opinion. But if you do not want to pay the $20, that is totally up to you. Typically, these shows end up on Wrestle Universe like a couple of months later, so you just have to wait a little bit to see this. But all that being said, there will be some wrestling on this show. There's also going to be some concerts, some idol performances on this show from both Ocha Norma, the partnership group that TJPW is working with, and then, of course, the Up Up Girls as well will be performing, as they always do for all of the TJPW shows. We do have the full match card for this announced already. There are only 5 matches, but remember there will be about 30 to 45 minutes worth of idol performances as well, so you can only have so much on this show. The matches, we'll run through them pretty quickly, are a tag team match. The team of Himawari and Haru Kazushiro will team up to take on Uta Takami and Arisu Endo. A 6-woman tag match between Rakupam and Ryu Mizunami. That's right, Aniki is going to be joining in on this show. Those 3 will be taking on the team of Chika Nanase, Mahiro Kiryu, and Shino Suzuki. There are 2 more 6-woman tags. The first one, Yuki Aino, Miyu Watanabe, and Toga will take on Yuki Arai, Mizuki, and Suzume. That's going to be a terrific match. That's also going to be a preview for the Princess of Princess title match on the January 4th Corcoran show. I believe in the sequence here, this will be the 3rd preview match for the Princess of Princess title match. The other 6-woman tag will be Rika Tatsumi, Miyu Yamashita, and Mifu Ashita, who are forming a team called OchaPro Sekigun, basically like the supporters of OchaPro and Ocha Norma, and they're going to be taking on the team of Kira Summer, Hyper Misao, and Yuki Kamifuku, who are known as Coffee Breakers. Just to unpack that a little bit, as far as I'm understanding, Ocha Norma, the idol group, is very closely associated with tea, drinking tea, something to that effect, and Hyper Misao and Yuki Kamifuku much prefer coffee. There was a short little clip that was put up on the TJPW X account over the past week where they were really like offended that the show, the Ocha Norma girls, or associate themselves with tea and that they much prefer coffee. So they've decided to team up as the Coffee Breakers. They've somehow corralled Kira Summer into joining that team as well. And then they're facing off against those other 3, Rika, Miyu, Yamashita, and Mifu, who will be kind of banding together and support the OchaPro Sekigun team. So a little bit of an interesting, fun little narrative that they're putting behind that. The final match that I did skip over, there is one more. It is a tag team match. Ren Kanatsu and Wakana Uehara are teaming up to face a masked duo, Kaya Toribami and Ochano Mask. Ochano Mask is likely going to be Shoko Nakajima. Shoko Nakajima is absent from this show due to personal circumstances. I remember we spoke about that a few weeks ago and compared it very closely to the situation that is occurring in Stardom with Hazuki and Koguma, who have mysteriously dropped out of their tag team round robin tournament and were replaced with 2 crazy women from Mexico. That's the name of their team. I'm not calling them crazy. It looks like there's something similar going on here. Maybe, allegedly. Can't say for certain, but we'll see come December 7th. We'll see who this Ochanor mask is all about. I imagine there'll be some sort of connection to Ocha Norma, Ochanor. That seems to be the prevailing theme here. But overall, this is looking like a fun show. There will be 2 mini performances from Ocha Norma as well, about 20 to 25 minutes each. So quite a lot of idol performances from Ocha Norma, but almost 40 to 50 minutes there. And then, of course, the Up Up Girls as well. And it has been announced that the Up Up Girls will be doing a cover of an Ocha Norma song in addition to a few of their other songs too. After that December 7th show, the next show on the calendar is Saturday, December 13th. So just 6 short days afterwards, TJPW will be heading to Thailand for TJPW Live in Bangkok. This will be taking place from a venue called the Circus Studio in Bangkok, Thailand. TJPW has announced that this will also be pay-per-view on Wrestle Universe. There's no details yet on the cost of this. It's very interesting that they are running back-to-back shows as pay-per-views. It's very, very, I don't want to say odd, but like abnormal for TJPW. Like I said, a majority of their shows are just provided as a part of your Wrestle Universe subscription. So it's very curious that they're doing 2 back-to-back, but also looking at the context of these shows, the first one is that collaboration show with more of a mainstream idol group, so I imagine there are other costs associated and fees and different things, and it's a little bit of like a special show, if you will. It's not just wrestling. And then, of course, this Bangkok show, I imagine there's other additional fees as well, getting a whole bunch of talent into Thailand and wrestling there. And again, it's a little bit of a special show outside of your normal TJPW show. This Bangkok show will also have 5 matches on it, so it will be a little bit smaller of a show. I wonder if it will be priced similarly to the OchaPro show or not, or maybe if it would be cheaper or what. We'll have to wait and see what the cost of this is, but the 5 matches are as follows. The one that we already knew about that was announced about a week or so ago was Miyu defending her Princess of Princess title. Miyu Watanabe, she'll be defending against Matcha, who is a Setup Thailand competitor. I believe she is the Setup Thailand All Asia Women's Champion. I think I have the name of that belt correctly. But this will only be for Miyu's Princess of Princess title, and this will be Miyu's 3rd defense. If she does happen to lose the belt here, her match against Suzume on January 4th just becomes a standard singles match. It will not be for the Princess of Princess title. I highly, highly, highly doubt that that will happen. So if you are planning on attending Japan in early January, late December, don't feel like you have to cancel your plans. I can almost promise that you will see Miyu Watanabe defend that championship against Suzume. This week we did have other matches get announced for this Bangkok show. Shoko Nakajima will be defending her MLW Featherweight Championship in her 6th defense against Alexis Lee. Alexis Lee, most known for wrestling out of Singapore. I believe it's Singapore Pro Wrestling is the name of her home promotion. She's had a couple of cups of coffee with coffee. Now coffee's on the mind after talking about the coffee breakers, but figure of speech. Alexis Lee has had a couple of cups of coffee with TJPW over the last year or two. She's always a really fun competitor to see. She has a really cool look to her. She wears really cool face paint. I think that her and Shoko Nakajima would have a really wonderful match for that MLW title, so that's going to be one I'm looking forward to. And then newly crowned tag team champions Miyu Yamashita and Kaya Toribami are going to have their first defense of the IWA Japan Setup tag titles. They just won these about a week or so ago. They're going to be defending against Raku and Palm Harajuku. Now, at the show that Miyu and Kaya won these belts, I was a little bit surprised that they won, but pleasantly surprised at that. And then I kind of theorized that maybe they will just hold the belts until this Bangkok show, drop them to a team that maybe wrestles more frequently in Thailand, maybe a setup Thailand tag team, something like that. But to me, based on what we see here with this card, I would be really surprised if they do lose these belts to Rakupam. No offense to Rakupam, both of them have actually held the Setup Women's Championship, which is really a fun fact there. But I do think that Miyu, Yamashita, and Kaya are going to continue holding these belts for a while, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But either way, I think this will be quite the fun match when these ladies do make it into Thailand, especially Raku and Palm. They always seem to put on some fun matches for that crowd. And then rounding out this show, we will have a tag team match. Shino Suzuki will team up with Yuki Arai, and they're going to take on Daisy Monkey. This is the first time we've seen Daisy Monkey teaming together in quite a while, even on the house shows. So really, really nice to see Daisy Monkey come together once again. If you are unfamiliar, Daisy Monkey is Suzume and the current international princess champion Arisu Endo. They're a wonderful tag team. They held the princess tag titles for a very, very long time, not too long ago, just last year in 2024. So looking forward to that match, and then we round out the card with a singles match. This one actually might be a lot of fun. It'll be really interesting to see these two competitors and the differences between them. Yuki Kamifuku will take on Uta Takami. I guess you could say there was a preview match for this at the TJPW Organizing Festival, which we'll talk about once we get into our reviews. But this I think is going to be really interesting. I'm really curious to see the dynamic between these two. Kamiyu is always one to look down on her competitors, figuratively speaking, but in this case, literally, she towers over Uta Takami. But that being said, Uta has had an absolutely bang up year. She has been winning that next gen tournament, challenging for the IP title. She won or almost won an earlier in the year challenge for the IP title. Just really, really having a terrific amount of momentum, a terrific year. So really curious to see this match take place as well. And then on top of this match, or on top of this show rather, Setup Thailand will be running their own show earlier in the afternoon. I don't think this is a part of the pay-per-view. I think this is totally independent. It's about like an hour show they mentioned, and then in between the two shows, there's going to be like talk events and merchandise stands, different like food, like just like a little like fair, if you will, just in between the two shows. So it's going to really be like a full day of wrestling for anybody who's attending these shows in Thailand. It seems like it'd be a fun day out. Seems like it'd be a lot of fun. So looking forward to this show. If all those match announcements were not enough for you, we also have more announcements for TJPW 26. This is the January 4th Corcoran Hall show. This one will be live on Wrestle Universe. I know it's not, if you're kind of playing around with the Wrestle Universe schedule, it's not up there yet, but every year this is live on Wrestle Universe. We have some news that J-Rod will be returning to TJPW for this January 4th show. She's also going to stick around and be on the January 10th show as well. So really cool to see J-Rod kind of turn right around and come back into TJPW. Her match with Miyu Watanabe at All Rise 2-5 was really surprisingly good match. I had admittedly low expectations for it, but they exceeded my expectations. I thought that both of those women did a great job in that match, and it's really interesting to see J-Rod coming back. I'm curious who she's going to be facing. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring here to see a singles match with Yuki Aino. I think that would be a wonderful, like, power for power type of a matchup, would be a lot of fun. Or perhaps we'll see her in a tag team match of some sort. Looking forward to more announcements as we get them for this. Speaking of this Corcoran show on January 4th, only two matches have been announced. We have the annual Hyper Misao and Shoko Nakajima singles match, and then the Princess of Princess title defense, Miyu Watanabe and Suzume. We also know that Aja Kong will be on this show, and as of last week, they announced Yuka Sakazaki will be returning to TJPW to be on this show. So this is shaping up to be quite the event. It always is a lot of fun. It's always a very big card. All three titles are typically defended. I suppose we won't see the MLW featherweight title defended unless the singles match with Shoko and Misao. They always add a stipulation, if not multiple stipulations, so maybe that will turn into an MLW defense. Hopefully the Iron Man title is still kind of kicking around in TJPW. We see that get defended here too. So always going to be one of TJPW's biggest shows of the year outside of an arena. It's usually their biggest cork win. So as we look forward to this show, we will get some more match announcements at next week's press conference. On December 3rd, there is a press conference for this. So we'll have, I don't believe the full card will be announced, but we'll know, I would say probably at least 3 to 4 more matches. So next week on the show, we'll dive into any and all news coming out of that TJPW 26 press conference. The last bit of news that I want to touch on is not a match announcement. I think we've had enough match announcements for the week here, but I mentioned this briefly on a previous show. Yuki Arai and Wakana Uehara are making a TV appearance on November 28th, so the day that this show comes out. They're on a show called Dekamori Hunter. Basically, it's like a competitive eating style show, so like right up Wakana's alley. I don't know about Arai, but I'm really curious to see that. But essentially, what this is going to be is they are eating like a large amount of food on this show. I call it a TV show, but it might just be streaming online. And basically, they challenge the, I guess the either the standing winners or champions or what have you, for a chance to win 100,000 yen. And they've announced that on their appearance on the show, Arai and Wakana, they have to eat this like massive like 8 level okonomiyaki. Okonomiyaki is like a Japanese pancake kind of thing, and usually it's flat, and so this is like an 8 layered okonomiyaki. They've also said that there's like secret ingredients in it. I don't know what that means, maybe like odd things, but this will be airing tomorrow. There is, if you go to the TJPW Twitter account, or the X account, I should say, they are posting quite a bit about this, and they are linking to the TV station or the show's website, and I believe it's going to be streaming there. So if you do want to watch this on Friday, or if you want to maybe see if the video is up afterwards, that's what I'm going to plan to do. Hopefully you'll be able to see this because this sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and jump into some matches that have actually taken place in the past week. After all those match announcements, let's talk about some actual wrestling that we've seen happen. The first event that we had in the past week was Uta Takami's homecoming show. This was known as the Hayukuman Goku Smile in Kanazawa. I've been practicing that. Oh gosh, I already messed it up. Hayukuman Goku Smile in Kanazawa. This took place on Saturday, November 22nd, from the Kanazawa Distribution Hall in Ishikawa, Japan. This was video on demand. I believe it released on Tuesday earlier this week. The show overall is only about 2 hours, so a nice, typical bite-sized version of TJPW. The announced attendance was 256, so quite a large number of people that attended this event. This was billed as a sellout. The venue basically just looked like a giant convention hall of some sort, or like ballroom, some sort of a multi-purpose hall. I believe it is the first time that TJPW has run this venue. I was not able to find any previous information about any sort of other matches that have taken place here. I know this is Uta Takami's first ever homecoming show, but that being said, Uta hasn't been wrestling for very long, so perhaps they've attended, or perhaps they've run a show here prior to Uta debuting, but I don't think so. I believe this is the first time there, and if that's the case, 256, very, very strong number to draw the first time you're going to this venue in this city. The only absent competitor here was Miyu Yamashita. She was touring in Europe. That's going to be a recurring theme over the next week or two. We'll talk about her matches once we get into our excursion corner of the show. The last thing I want to note about this show is I believe they were raising money to support recent earthquake issues from a recent earthquake and the residents of the town. I think some of the proceeds went to earthquake support. So this is the second show in just a couple of months where TJPW has done some sort of a charitable thing. Always nice to see something like that. This show opens up with Rise Shirai giving her remarks and the house rules. We do get an Up Girls performance, a little bit of a special one. They focus on Uta a little bit more than normal, obviously for her homecoming, and the Up Girls sing Love You More, Labimoto. In the opening contest, we saw a singles match between Shino Suzuki and Ren Kanatsu. Really interesting to see Shino do her Up Girls performance and then immediately turn around and wrestle. That has to be difficult to be able to sing and dance and then try to catch your breath and go out there and wrestle a 10-minute match or something. I know that Rise Shirai typically announces the full card after the Up Girls leave, but nonetheless, impressive from Shino. This was a fun match because we actually got 2 turnbuckle tour guide spots today. Shino toured two corners. Easy, say that 5 times fast. Shino toured 2 corners today, and in a fun bit, Fumarin was the referee here, and Fumarin was actually playing along and pretending to sightsee and look at the different corners and the turnbuckles. So fun, cute little interaction. This match, though, fairly back and forth matchup. surprisingly had like a lot of sleeper holds in it, which I'm sure is not anybody's like immediate reason to go run and watch a match. But despite the number of sleeper holds that we had, this was a pretty solid match. Shino ends up winning with the modified Cobra Clutch in just over 7 minutes, 7 minutes and 7 seconds. So a nice bounce back win for Shino after she's been on a little bit of a losing streak. Afterwards, the two shake hands. Shino gives Ren a little bit of a pat on the head. Ren, being the newest debuting competitor in TJPW, is still the least experienced in that sense. That just jogged my memory. I know that there are some trainees. There were 3 trainees at Wrestle Princess 6. I wonder when they're going to make their debuts. Hopefully soon, maybe at the January 4th show. The next match was a singles contest between Mifu Ishida and Suzume. I almost didn't recognize Mifu's music because we really never hear it. She is never the one to have her music played when she's in a tag team. It's very rare that we have a Mifu Ishida singles match, so when it started to play, I was like, who the heck is this? Is this like a new person or somebody I missed that was just kind of guest starring? And no, it was Mifu Ishida. I'll have to try to commit that to memory a little bit more, but this had a nice even stretch to start the match out before Mifu decided to do her typical cheering spot, and she cheered and gave Suzume a happy birthday. Suzume's birthday, as of this is releasing Friday, Suzume's birthday is Thursday, November 27th, so quick happy birthday to Suzume again, but fun spot from Mifu. It ended up all being a ruse, though, because she did try to catch her off guard and roll Suzume up, but she was not able to pin her completely. I thought this match was, in particular, pretty interesting because both of these women have very creative movements, the way that they move their body while they're in the ring. Mifu Ishida, very flexible, being the former cheerleader, and of course Suzume, just very creative with her moveset and where she jumps from, where she runs from. So I just thought that made for a really fun matchup. We had a lot of creative reversals here. Suzume does end up winning this with the ring a bell in 8 minutes and 1 second. I never thought that Suzume was going to lose this match, to be honest with you. I would be really surprised, quite frankly, if Suzume loses anything between now and January 4th, except maybe she'll lose a preview tag, or maybe like Miyu Watanabe will pin her once or twice. But outside of that, I think that they keep Suzume very strong heading into that January 4th match, and I would expect Suzume to win like 99% of the matches that she's in between now and January 4th. The next match that we saw was a 6-woman tag. The team of Rakupam alongside Rika Tatsumi took on the team of Mihiro Kiryu, your DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight champion, Hyper Misao, and Kaya Toribami. While Misao was giving her pre-match mic performance, Raku, Pam Harajuku, and Rika Tatsumi transformed into crabs, or at least they put on Pam had gloves, like crab gloves, and then they all put on headbands with crabs on them. I had to look this up. Apparently, crab is a local delicacy in this Ishikawa prefecture, so I guess that makes sense. This was pretty funny. They ended up doing a Kani Kani Express instead of Raku's Oyasumi Express, where they kind of crab walked across all 3 of their opponents. Misao tried to put an end to this with her cold spray. That led to Mihiro challenging Pam to rock, paper, scissors because she figured, well, Pam has the crab gloves on, so she would only be able to throw scissors because of the way of the crab's hands are shaped. Surprisingly, a really smart theory. What she didn't factor in was that Pam could just remove the gloves and play a different hand, and that's what she did. She just removed the claw. She ended up throwing paper to Mihiro's rock, and so Mihiro loses the rock, paper, scissors, but that leads us into Mihiro's apology spot for having been deceived by such a bad person. From here on out, we get somewhat serious wrestling, a mix of all 6 women in the ring at different times. Mihiro goes for a diving apology knee drop. She gets up on the turnbuckle and she shouts, "I will defend this belt." Don't know why she had to shout that. I don't know if this was like the forefront of this match, but she put an idea into Rika's head because she misses this diving apology knee drop, and almost immediately Rika is able to slap on the White Dragon Sleeper, and Mihiro submits pretty quickly, so Rika takes this for her team at 9 minutes and 46 seconds. Because she submits Mihiro, Rika Tatsumi becomes the 1786th DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight champion. As Rika's team is celebrating, Raku ends up putting a sleep mask over her and tries to roll her up. She does only get 2 though. Rika is able to kick out of that, and then Raku chases her away. Another smart strategy from Raku. She's been carrying around those sleep masks for quite a while. Very smart strategy to put that sleep mask on and disorient your competitor, the champion, and try to win the match. So we've had a lot of interesting, like, good theories, good wrestling strategy theories in this match, surprisingly. We did have some brief backstage comments after this match. Both Rika Tatsumi and Mihiro Kiryu were looking forward to their Itabashi singles match. Unfortunately, that did not take place. We'll chat about that in just a moment, but they were both really looking forward to that. Rika has vowed to keep the title, the DDT Ironman title, until the OchaPro show on December 7th. She made that announcement really a few weeks back when she held the title for the first time, before her and Mihiro have been trading it back and forth a little bit. She wants to gift it to her favorite member of Ocha Norma. Interesting gift to give somebody, right? A title that can be won at any given time would seem a little bit of a difficult gift to receive, if you will. But that's Rika's goal, is to make it to the OchaPro show on December 7th with this Iron Man title. Our next match, another singles match. A lot of singles matches on this show. Yuki Arai took on Kira Summer. I thought this was a really nice contrast to some of our earlier matches. This one was a lot more hard-hitting, a lot more power-focused. I thought Kira in particular looked really good. A lot of her moves looked really crisp here. She had a nice sequence where she strung together a few moves. She had like a falling body slam. She rolled backwards and then kind of did this running leg drop combo. So some really good stuff from Kira. I think she's certainly growing as a competitor. Unfortunately, in this match, that was not enough to put down Yuki Arai. Yuki Arai was able to submit Kira with the Scorpion Deathlock at 6 minutes and 53 seconds. I think it's really interesting. I know the Scorpion Deathlock as a sharpshooter. I grew up more watching WWE, WWF than I did WCW or New Japan Wrestling, but TJPW refers to Arai's submission maneuver as the Scorpion Deathlock, not as the sharpshooter. So I thought that was pretty cool. They briefly stare each other down afterwards, which I thought was really interesting. I kind of wouldn't hate if they ran this back and gave it a little bit more time than just under 7 minutes. This was a surprisingly fun match to see. So I don't know, could be nothing. Sometimes with TJPW, they just always have a little bit of like a grudge after a match, but it would be interesting to see this run back. We then had a tag team match. Uber Eats teamed up to take on Yuki Aino and Chika Nanase. Another entrance music that I keep forgetting about is Uber Eats, that they have their own tag music. And when this started to play, I was pleasantly reminded that the Uber Eats song is really, really good. So that was a nice fun bit. This match starts off with Yuki Aino just completely overpowering Wakana. Kamiyu comes in, tries to take advantage of Chika and Chika being so much smaller than her, but Chika doesn't back down. We know that Chika has a lot of fight in her. We saw a lot of that fight in the Next Gen tournament this year, so Chika does not back down. Pretty nice showing from Chika in this match. We end up seeing both of the Yukis square off, Kamifuku and Aino. They have a pretty nice back and forth, and then towards the end of this match, we see the pairing of Wakana and Chika. There was a little bit of an awkward moment where Chika was like charging into the corner and hesitated, maybe just a little bit of miscommunication, but other than that, this match was pretty solid. Wakana picks up the win for her team, pinning Chika after a sushi tornado in 11 minutes and 23 seconds. In the semifinal for the evening, we had another tag team match, the team of Arisu Endo and Haru Kazushiro taking on the team of Mizuki and Toga. Haru and Toga started us out. We did also see Arisu and Shadow Mizuki come in, and they came into dueling chants. The audience here was kind of equally behind Arisu and Mizuki. Shadow Mizuki, remember, is just what I call Mizuki when she wears her black gear. Toga and Mizuki have a little bit of a moment where they just beat the ever-loving snot out of Haru. At one point, Mizuki actually bites her. Even Arisu comes in to try to even up the odds, accidentally hits Haru. So Haru took quite a beating in this match. Surprisingly, we had a really, really good exchange with Haru and Mizuki. Haru was hanging in there with probably one of the most skilled competitors on the roster in Mizuki. So Haru looked really, really good in this match. And then probably unsurprisingly, I would say the best moments of this match were when Mizuki was facing off against Arisu. Despite Haru kind of holding her own in this match, we did see Mizuki put her down with a cutie special to win the match for her team at 12 minutes and 55 seconds. And in our main event, we saw another tag team match. The team of Himawari and Shoko Nakajima took on Miyu Watanabe and Uta Takami. Uta came out first. She did get a solo entrance, which I thought was a really nice touch. Fans were allowed to throw streamers here only for Uta, so we did get quite a lot of streamers from this crowd. The rest of the gang came out following suit. They did not receive streamers. In a funny moment, Uta was actually positioned in the wrong corner, and Himawari had to be like, hey, get back into your corner. Like, you're in the other corner, you're in the red corner. A little bit awkward, but perhaps Uta was just a little nervous in front of her hometown crowd, but a cute moment. Miyu also got her own entrance. Basically, they did Uta's entrance, then Himawari and Shoko Nakajima came out together, and then Miyu Watanabe came out. So Miyu decided to do her best Hulk Hogan impression here and was like, I'm going to get my own entrance. I'm coming out last. I'm the champion. She probably didn't do that, but that was the first thing that came to my mind, and I thought it was a funny image of Miyu kind of flexing her best Hulk Hogan impression to kind of throw some clout around and come out last as the champion, but I think Miyu is much too nice for that. This match starts off with Uta Takami and Himawari. There's a lot of Uta chants from the crowd. We also see a really brief but nice exchange between Watanabe and Shoko Nakajima. Uta comes back in to face off against Shoko, and immediately I am flashing back to the Level Up Trial Series match that they had. That's the one where Shoko was literally wrestling with one hand behind her back half the match. So this was really fun to see them kind of have a little bit of a flashback to that. Himawari comes in, and then we start to see Himawari's hair attacks. Himawari and Miyu Watanabe also have a pretty good back and forth. We get a second Shoko and Miyu. There is this beautiful moment where there's a head scissors counter into Miyu Watanabe's backbreaker. I feel like only Shoko and Miyu could pull off this maneuver where you have Shoko's kind of athleticism and flexibility and speed and Miyu's power. It was just a beautiful move and counter that these two women put together. That was followed up with Watanabe's giant swing, and after doing most of the heavy lifting, Miyu tags out. She wants Uta to come in and close this match out for her team. However, she is beaten down immensely by Shoko Nakajima, unfortunately. Miyu does rescue her for a brief moment of offense, but it really doesn't last too long. Shoko is right back in control. She hits a 619. She pins Uta with a Northern Lights suplex in 16 minutes and 36 seconds. I have a couple things I want to say about this match. First and foremost, I thought that it was a nice long main event. We typically don't see long house show main events from TJPW, certainly nothing longer than 15 minutes, and here we got 16 and a half minutes, so that was really nice to see. The match overall I thought was a pretty good match, but what a bummer that Uta takes the pin in her hometown main event. You could really hear it in the crowd too. The moment that Uta didn't kick out of that Northern Lights suplex, it was almost as if the air was let out of the balloon in that venue. A lot of people just kind of audibly groaned. I don't know if that's the right word, but just kind of let out this sigh where they were like, oh, like they really thought that she was going to kick out of that maneuver. They were ready for her to kick out of that maneuver. In my opinion, and take that for what it's worth, I think they easily could have had Uta pin Himawari here. Nothing against Himawari, but within the construct of this match, Uta's on such a roll. I think you can just chalk that up to Uta's momentum and have Uta pin Himawari. I also think you could have just had Miyu or Shoko Nakajima pin one another. I know that they're top of the top when it comes to the pecking order, but Miyu is the champion. Pinning Shoko Nakajima wouldn't be a big deal. Honestly, Shoko pinning Miyu wouldn't be a big deal to kind of get one up on her and then maybe down the line challenge for the title. I know they've done that before, but I'm really looking for a way to not have Uta take the pin here, and I think that was just unfortunate the way that they settled on that for the decision to end this match with not only Uta's team losing, but Uta taking the pinfall loss. After the match, Shoko does give Uta a lot of praise. I think she says she gave her a gold star, which was kind of funny. Uta closes out the show, of course, being in her hometown. So they do end on a little bit of a nice note for Uta, and what's the wrestling term? Like Shoko gave her the rub, right? That's what you would say, I guess. But still, I think Uta should have won this in some way, or at least not been the one to eat the pinfall. She did give some comments backstage, Uta. She said that she was sad that she lost, but overall, happy that she returned home, happy to see the amount of people that came to the show, and would love to come back and just have her hometown continue to support her, continue to support TJPW. Overall, this event I thought was fine. It was pretty good wrestling, but a typical like paint by numbers style house show here for TJPW. I wouldn't say there's anything to like really go out of your way to see. Nothing here was bad in that sense, but there's nothing that you really must, drop everything you're doing and go check out here. And then that ending was a little bit deflating as well. So I don't know how happy the crowd went home with this match, but just food for thought. Oftentimes we've seen a few homecoming shows of recent. We've seen Mihiro's, we've seen Arisu's. Arisu won, Mihiro won. Like everybody gets sent home happy. So just a curious decision. I don't want to harp on it, but just a curious decision to have Uta lose. We did have two other events that took place. These two took place on Monday, November 24th. This was called TJPW Organizing Festival Part 1 and Part 2. This is the event where the roster was split into two teams, Team TJ and Team PW. Organizing Festival, I had to do a little bit of research about that. Apparently it has something to do with like Japanese politics or something like that, and how they would like organize like a cabinet, like a government cabinet or something. And so it's like a play on words that TJPW is sorting their roster in this way, something to that effect. Regardless, I don't think it really matters. The idea here is that they split the roster into two different teams. Both of these events took place on the same day. One was afternoon, one was evening. They both took place from the Itabashi Green Hall in Tokyo. Both of these were also video on demand. We only have part 1, Team TJ. That just released today, Thursday, as I'm recording this. Part 2 doesn't come out until tomorrow. So by the time that this show releases, part 2 will be up, but unfortunately it's not out for me to review it. So what we'll do is we'll run through part 1 in detail like we normally do for shows, and then with part 2, we'll just cover the results, and then we'll pick it up next week and dive into more details on next week's show. Miyu Yamashita was still touring Europe during this event, so she was absent, and then unfortunately, just before this event, Rika Tatsumi fell ill, so she was unable to have her singles match with Mihiro for the Iron Man title. Super unfortunate. That was one of the matches I was really looking forward to here, but what can you do? It is getting to be winter. A lot of people end up getting the flu or a cold or whatever. I'm not quite sure what she fell ill with, but that's par for the course on this time of the year, so it's just an unfortunate thing, but rest assured, I'm sure that this storyline is not over. Rika Tatsumi is scheduled to wrestle on this coming weekend's show, so hopefully it was just a short little illness for her. Okay, so part 1, the afternoon show, this is Team TJ. This show is only about an hour and a half, so a nice bite-sized show. There was 5 matches in total, and the attendance for this one, 173. TJPW is listing that as a sellout. The last time TJPW was at the Itabashi Green Hall was last summer in 2024, right before Summer Sun Princess 2-4, where they drew 194. So a little bit less, but in a moment we'll talk about the evening show's attendance, and you'll kind of see that 173 for a sellout is quite a strong number, but touch upon that in a moment. Rise Shirai opened up with her remarks and her house rules, and then in an interesting twist, we had a solo Uta Takami performance. Uta sang Tulip of Youth, which is her entrance theme song. She was the only Up Up Girls member on this afternoon show. I guess I should scratch that and say that Miyu Watanabe filled in for Rika Tatsumi, but in terms of scheduling, Uta was the only Up Up Girls member on this show, so they did a solo performance. And then I believe even in the evening show, despite the rest of the Up Up Girls being on it, they still did a solo performance, so we'll have to see when that comes out on video. But Uta Takami, cool to see her have a solo performance. This show had 4 singles matches on it, which is always a delight to see. Singles matches in TJPW, I want to say, are a rarity. I guess in the past couple of months we've gotten quite a few of them, but typically speaking, we really don't see a lot of singles matches. So having 4 of them on this card, 4 of them on the evening card, really cool to see. But this afternoon show opened up with Kaya Toribami taking on Chika Nanase. They've actually met 3 times before head-to-head. Kaya Toribami has won all of those, so she's up 3-0. They've actually wrestled in this very venue once before too, which I thought was kind of an interesting tidbit. This match, fairly 50-50, fairly back and forth. Pretty basic match overall. I think that Chika is getting really good with her elbow bat maneuver. At one point she was like winding up to hit it, almost like a baseball pitcher. So I thought that was kind of a neat little thing that she's growing into. Unfortunately, she was not able to hit the elbow bat at that point, and Kaya wins this via submission with a birdcage at 8 minutes and 5 seconds. The second match, Hyper Misao took on Himawari. These two have actually also wrestled before. Misao won that contest, so Misao won to nothing here in the head-to-heads. During Misao's pre-match mic performance, she asked to see some of Himawari's stage acting. For those of you that don't follow Himawari on social media, she has been sharing a lot about this stage play that she's currently taking part in. Himawari, outside of TJPW, is a working stage actress. I think that's also what she went to school for, kind of her background prior to getting into wrestling. So it was a nice moment where TJPW kind of promoted her show a little bit, if you will. So Misao asked to see some of her stage acting as Himawari was reciting some of her lines. Of course, knowing Hyper Misao, this was all a ruse. She tried to roll her up and pin her, but Himawari was able to kick out of it. She gets some early revenge, bringing her hair into play, but that is countered by Hyper Misao's cold spray. And then in a really creative spot, Hyper Misao blindfolded Himawari using her own braids. I just thought that was unique, something we haven't seen before. I love to see the competitors figure out like unique and creative ways to get Himawari's hair involved in the match. It's just a nice, it really brings wrestling strategy into play. If you were fighting this person and they're attacking you with their hair, well, you try to take their hair out of it or you try to use their hair against them. So smart strategy from Misao. They brawl into the audience for quite a bit, which we don't see very often in TJPW, so another neat moment. Himawari accidentally hits Ren Kanatsu at one point. Misao picked up Ren, I think Ren was like seconding the match, and places her in front of the blindfolded Himawari, so Ren, a little bit of collateral damage in this match, took a forearm right to the chest. Misao doesn't stop there, though. She rolls Himawari into the ring skirt. That's a bit that we see from Misao quite often. Blindfold keeps that blindfold on her. Somehow or other, Himawari is able to beat the count, though. In the ring, they trade offense back and forth. We get more hair whips. Misao tries pinning her with her feet on the ropes, which was kind of funny. They go back and forth for a little while longer. Misao ultimately winning with a La Magistral Cradle in 9 minutes and 34 seconds. In our third match, we saw Arisu Endo take on Kira Summer. Surprisingly fun match. This was also pretty 50-50 back and forth. I really like of late that Kira Summer is honing her power a little bit more. She's trying to more so finding her identity in the ring as that powerful competitor. She has the physical advantage over a lot of the other women, so I really like to see Kira honing that power offense. That being said, against Arisu, we know that Arisu is never one to back down from a fight. She always appears much larger in stature than she typically is height-wise, so quite the back and forth that they had, quite the test of strength that they had as well. Arisu is able to pick up the victory with a camel clutch in 9 minutes and 27 seconds. In the semifinal of this show, we saw Miyu Watanabe, who was subbing in for Rika Tatsumi, wrestle Mihiro Kiryu. These two have actually fought head-to-head a few times as well. Miyu has won both of their head-to-head matches, so 2-0 head-to-head record for Miyu. This one started out with Miyu just wrestling the heck out of Mihiro. She had her in all different submission maneuvers, all different, back-breaking maneuvers, pinfall attempts, just really wrestling circles around her. In a funny, nod to Rika having missed this show, Mihiro tried to go for Rika's elbow drop and ended up missing it. And then in an even funnier moment, Miyu actually tried to go for it as well, also ended up missing it. This led to Mihiro's apology spot for attempting to hit the elbow drop, but before she's able to apologize, Miyu actually stops her, and then they just sit on the mat and argue for an extended period of time. And this goes on for at least a minute and a half, which doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're sitting there just watching them go back and forth for a minute and a half, it's a long time. That leads to this really odd bit where Miyu just starts freaking out, screaming and wailing because her knees hurt from kneeling for so long. And then Mihiro just keeps trying to force her to kneel, and that's her attack strategy on Miyu's legs, and I guess it's creative. It was just very odd. And then they are outside of the ring for a little bit, and Mihiro tries to win via count out and tries to keep Miyu kneeling because she can't get up. Just a really odd direction that they went here. We do get some of our traditional moments from these two. We get the apology spot. We do have a giant swing as well. Miyu ends up winning this match with a teardrop at 13 minutes and 18 seconds. So as you can see, quite a lengthy match on this show. I actually believe it was the longest match of the show, even longer than the main event that we'll talk about. So an interesting choice with how they played this. I almost wonder if they had to either put something together really quickly with Rika coming out, or maybe this was the design of the match with Rika. Like maybe the Rika elbow spot was supposed to happen where Mahiro tried to hit it on Rika, and then Rika came back and hit it, and they just kept it in there. Maybe the back and forth arguing kind of feels like something more over the Iron Man title than what Miyu Watanabe would do. But I don't know, the whole knee thing, it it was funny, like don't get me wrong, it was a funny match. It just didn't hit quite the way I think they wanted it to, at least for me personally. Maybe you guys have a different read on it, but it was an interesting one. I'll give them that. And I will give them props because Miyu Watanabe wrestled twice on this day, so as your champion to jump in and kind of, I don't know if it was her decision or Tija's decision, but for Miyu to jump in and play double duty as the champion. I was almost going to say leader, but I don't want to upset Yamashita. But as the de facto leader, as the champion, cool to see Miyu pull double duty. Kudos to her. And then also kudos to Mahiro for being able to kind of twist her mindset, wrestle a different competitor on short notice, and likely change around a lot of what they were going to do, given it was not for the Iron Man title. So kudos to both of these women at the end of the day. In our main event, we had a tag team match. Yuki Kamifuku and Yuki Aino took on Uta Takami and Yuki Arai. Yukis were wild in this match. We started off with Yuki. That is the name of their team when they team together, by the way. All three of these Yukis are just known as Yuki. I don't know how many times I'll say that over and over again. But Yuki started out this match with some craziness. There was a moment where Aino and Kamiyu like switched bodies and tried to hit each other's moves. I don't really know what the heck that was all about, but it was entertaining. Kamiyu blamed it on Uta Takami, so Uta can't catch a break recently. Aino and Kamiyu then took turns just beating the heck out of Uta Takami, I guess because they felt that she made them switch bodies or something like that. But eventually, Arai's team gains control for a little bit. Things break down quite a bit in this match. What is this, a 6-woman tag? Come on. Aino basically uses a lot of her strength. Kamiyu uses a lot of length. All of that proves just to be too much for a competitor of Uta's size. And Yuki Aino is able to pin Uta Takami with a Venus DDT in 11 minutes and 39 seconds. That is back-to-back losses for Uta Takami, and really the only thing I can say is that wrestling is a very humbling business. You could win the Next Gen tournament, you can challenge for the IP title, you can be having probably the year of your short career, and based on how the cards fall, figuratively speaking, but I guess also literally speaking with wrestling, but based on how the cards fall, based on what's in the cards for certain matches, here's Uta losing her homecoming match, losing the next match that she's in, the main event here, taking the pinfall. So just a rough stretch for Uta, but that is the wrestling business. It's humbling, it ebbs and flows, and I don't think this means anything for Uta. I don't think this should discourage Uta in any way. Uta is having one heck of a year. After All Rise, I made a point to say that Uta is here. Uta has arrived, and I do think that that is still the case. I think that Uta is here. I think she will pick up the momentum, and maybe as we get towards the later shows, the Christmas show this year, the January 4th show as well, we'll see Uta pick up a win or maybe be positioned in a little bit of a bigger match. So looking forward to bigger things here from Uta. The only place you can go is up. Just to put a cap on this part one, overall, this was like a buffet style show is how I would describe it. You get a little bit of everything here, some comedy, some strong style wrestling, some rookie matches, basically a taste of everything that TJPW is about. Now with part 2, Team PW, I'm just going to run through the results really quickly. The attendance here was 190, so they are calling this like a super sellout is the way that they described it. From my understanding, that means that they've sold out the seats, and then maybe they had like standing room only as well that they had. So I think that 173 did I say? Yeah, 173 for part 1. I think that's probably like the true sellout number for the venue. And then anything more is just like an added bonus standing room or something like that. They basically overstuffed the venue. So that's why I say earlier, when they were here in summer of 2024 and they had 194 people, that aligns a little bit closer with this 190 number for the evening show. The 173 number, still a sellout for the afternoon show, but probably didn't get quite as many people because this was a Monday afternoon. Maybe it was like a holiday in Japan or something, but this was a Monday afternoon show, so not too surprised that the number was a little bit smaller for part 1. Also 5 matches on part 2 here. We had 4 singles and a tag. Raku defeated Ren Kanatsu with a front neck lock in 7 minutes and 33 seconds. We've seen Raku using that maneuver quite a bit. Wakana Uehara defeated Mifu Ashita with a Sushi Tornado in 9 minutes and 9 seconds. Mizuki defeated Shino Suzuki with a face lock in 10 minutes and 34 seconds. Shoko Nakajima defeated Palm Harajuku with a Northern Lights suplex in 11 minutes and 58 seconds. The images of this match look insane. Palm is in like an inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex costume or something, so really looking forward to checking that one out, see what that's all about. And then the main event, Miyu Watanabe pulling double duty, teamed with Toga to defeat Haru Kazushiro and Suzume. Miyu hit the teardrop on Haru and won the match in 14 minutes and 27 seconds. This was the first Princess of Princess preview match, so also really looking forward to this when this comes out. So as I mentioned, we will dive more into that Organizing Festival Part 2 on next week's show, where we will also review this show that we are about to preview here, Step Forward 2-5. This will take place on Saturday, November 29th, from the Azalea Taisho Hall in Osaka. This will also be video on demand. It is slated to release on Wrestle Universe on Tuesday, December 2nd. So just a couple of days after this one. Miyu Yamashita will continue to be absent. She is still on her Europe tour. And we have quite the card here. We have 7 matches overall. So a little bit bigger than some of the other shows we've seen recently. 2 singles matches on this card. Toga will take on Chika Nanase, and Shino Suzuki will take on Arisu Endo. That's going to be pretty interesting to see those two go back and forth. And then we have 5 tag team matches. Rakupam will take on Ren Kanatsu and Uta Takami. Mizuki will team with Mifu Ashita to take on Haru Kazushiro and Yuki Aino. We will have a little bit of a reunion here. Kyoraku Kiyomi will take on Mahiro Kiryu and Yuki Arai. Uber Eats will be teaming together to take on Kira Summer and Kaya Torabami. And then in what I imagine is going to be the main event, we have Daydream getting together as well, Rika Tatsumi and Miyu Watanabe, to take on Himawari and Suzume. So this will be the second Princess of Princess preview match. We know that at that part 2 of the Organizing Festival, Miyu picked up the victory for her team in that first preview match. So the preview matches are 1-0 in favor of Miyu right now, although I will caveat that she did not pin Suzume, so take that for what it's worth. But looking forward to this. It's a little bit curious that they're having Daydream come together and not wrestle Daisy Monkey, but maybe we'll see that on one of the bigger shows upcoming. I think that would be a lot of fun for a preview match. Daydream taking on Daisy Monkey. Oof, that would be a lot of fun. I also believe that the Iron Man title will have something to do here because Rika is still that champion, so we'll see if that comes into play at all. So Step Forward is our only event to preview, so this is going to work out nicely where next weekend we'll talk about Step Forward, we'll talk about part 2 of the Organizing Festival, but before we get to the end of this show, we have quite a lot of graduates to check in on, quite a lot of excursions. I was really surprised at all of the matches that have been taking place outside of TJPW, so let's go ahead and dive into all of these. In probably the biggest news of the week, I probably should have put this in the news section of the show. I probably should have led with this. Didn't want to bury the lead here, but we finally have Yuka Sakazaki's Ring of Honor Women's Pure Title Tournament match. That will be taking place on the Friday, November 28th edition of Ring of Honor Honor Club. So the day that this releases, this show, Yuka Sakazaki will have her tournament match. Finally, we have legitimately been waiting for this for months since this has been announced. This is the world's longest tournament ever. All that being said, I am really looking forward to this one. I think Serena Deeb is a really, really good competitor. Obviously, Yuka Sakazaki is a really good competitor, so crossing my fingers for a good one here. The winner of this will go on to face Billy Starks in the semifinals. We also have quite a bit to talk about with Maki Itoh. Maki is still wrestling in the States. She did a double shot here last weekend. On Saturday, November 22nd, she was on GCW's Dream On, where she wrestled Jeffrey John. I'm not too familiar with Jeffrey John. This was supposed to be a singles match with Zeta Steel. Not sure why she didn't wrestle Zeta Steel. Maybe she was hurt or something like that, or couldn't make it. I don't really know what the reason was for Zeta not being here. But we got a singles match. Maki Itoh took on Jeffrey John. Fairly typical Maki GCW match. Maki does win this. It's a short one. She wins this match in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. And then the following day, on Sunday, November 23rd, Maki wrestled at JCW's Home for the Holidays. JCW and GCW are they're in tandem, I guess is the best way to say it. So it's like a GCW show in a way. Anyway, JCW Home for the Holidays. She was supposed to wrestle Queen Aminata, but Queen Aminata has been hurt, I believe, of late. So Queen Aminata was not on this show. Maki actually didn't wrestle. They had there's a competitor by the name of Beastman, who's basically like a giant caveman, I guess, is the type of character. And I looked it up, he weighs about 400 pounds, and he decided to hold a body slam challenge to see who could body slam him. Very late 80s, early 90s WWF with this character and this body slam challenge, right? Maki comes in and wins the challenge. There's some help from some other competitors, and there's a little bit of a back and forth, and then somehow Maki's able to body slam the 400-pound beast man. This is obviously a suspend your disbelief moment, a fun little moment, and it's nice that they were able to keep Maki on the show and also give Maki a payday. So, no harm, no foul. It was a fun moment on this show. I should mention that the GCW Dream On show, all of the GCW shows are on Triller TV Plus, and then the JCW shows are actually all on YouTube, on the JCW YouTube channel. So if you want to see Maki body slam this 400-pound man, you can watch it on YouTube. Maki actually has a match upcoming this weekend on Saturday the 29th. She's wrestling at SAJ Final Bout 4 in Italy. SAJ, I learned, stands for Squash a Jobber. It's an interesting wrestling company name, Squash a Jobber Wrestling. Maki's going to be wrestling a gentleman by the name of Flamingo. And then in some fun Maki news, she is continuing to post content on her YouTube channel. She put up a vlog from her recent trip to Puerto Rico. Vlog is probably a strong word for it. It's basically her and Sayuri Namba just kind of hanging out, snorkeling, eating some food, and then for 2 minutes Maki attempts to fly a kite and fails miserably at it. It's kind of cute, kind of funny. But it's fun to see Maki use her social channels now that she is technically a freelancer and an independent competitor. It's nice to see what she's up to outside of some of her wrestling. And of course, always a delight to see Sayuri Namba. Love that those two women got together while they were both in North America. I think that's just a really fun, kind of heartwarming moment. One more graduate that I want to briefly touch on, Yu. We've been talking about Yu quite a bit on the podcast. She was recently back in TJPW for her final time at the Inspiration number 10 show. Yu defended her Sendai Girls tag team titles. She is the current tag champion for Sendai Girls as part of Team 200 Kilograms with Chihiro Hashimoto. They wrestled FWC, Fukuoka Double Crazy, Hazuki, and Koguma. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch this yet. This is on Wrestle Universe. Sendai Girls, all of their shows are on Wrestle Universe. On paper, heck of a match. Oh my god. This took place at Mika Iwata's 10th anniversary show, which was called Kick Thunder Claw Marks. Awesome name for a show. But Yu and Chihiro were able to successfully defend their titles against FWC. I am really looking forward to this one. It is out. It's on Wrestle Universe right now. I just haven't had the time yet, but this is going to be a blast. So I can already highly recommend you go see it, even without having watched it. And if all that's not enough wrestling for you, we have some excursions too that we can talk about, and some fun ones as well. I'll start with Miyu Yamashita, finishing off November touring Europe, had a triple shot, shall we say. Last weekend she wrestled Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all throughout Europe. On Friday the 21st, she wrestled for WXW, their 25th anniversary tour in Germany. She lost to Danny Luna in about 16 minutes and 50 seconds. On Saturday the 22nd, still with WXW on that anniversary tour in Germany, lost to Ahura in 17 minutes and 17 seconds. And then on Sunday the 23rd, she wrestled for RevPro at their show Live in Coventry, which was in England, where she lost to Kanji. So an 0 for 3 weekend for Yamashita seems a little odd on paper, but maybe I'm just thinking in terms of my TJPW brain and seeing Yamashita lose 3 in a row. But I will note that the WXW matches, both of those shows, are on YouTube, but they are behind like a membership thing for WXW, but pretty accessible if you want to see those. And then RevPro has their own streaming service or their own like on-demand service. They call it RevPro On Demand. Go figure. But you can access that on the RevPro website and check out all of their shows, including this match here. As we know, Miyu is continuing to tour Europe. This coming weekend, she's doing another triple shot. Friday the 28th, she will be wrestling in France for WPE and QPW's, it's called Episode 2, so they're French promotions. She's taking on a French competitor by the name of Loriana. On Saturday the 29th, she's actually also in Italy alongside Maki Itoh at that SAJ Final Bout 4 show, Squash a Jobber Wrestling. Love that. She's in a singles match against JJ Gale. And then on Sunday the 30th, she is back in England at Progress's Vendetta 3, where she will wrestle a competitor by the name of Alexis Falcon. And then 2 other matches that I really just found out about this week after they had taken place. They're not excursions, but I think this is the best way to put them. 2 competitors from TJPW wrestled outside of TJPW. Yuki Kamifuku was wrestling in Oz Academy on Sunday the 23rd. This was Sonoko Kato's retirement show from Corcoran Hall. This was a 8-woman tag team match. Aja Kong, Chikayo Nagashima, Hikaru Shida, and Nagisa Nozaki formed one team, and they wrestled against Hiroya Matsumoto, Rina Yamashita, Veni, and Yuki Kamifuku. So quite the action-packed, star-studded lineup in that 8-woman tag. I am honestly not sure where to stream Oz Academy. I know that you can do it because I have heard people streaming it and I've heard people talking about it. So I just don't know where. I tried to look on their website, on their YouTube channel, and I couldn't quite find it. So if you do know where to stream Oz Academy, let me know. But for this, I was going off of the match report that Oz Academy put out. It sounded like Kamiyu had some really interesting pairings with Nagisa Nozaki, with Shida, with Aja Kong. A handful of these women we do see in TJPW quite often, but some of them we don't. TJPW doesn't necessarily have strong working relationships with other companies, and so sometimes you don't see a lot of other competitors, say like Nagisa Nozaki, who is mostly in Marigold, or Rina Yamashita, who is mostly, freelance, but mostly in Stardom. She's been doing some stuff with OchaPro as well, but interesting to see Kamiyu mix it up with some of those people. Aja Kong ended up winning this match for her team at 13 minutes and 48 seconds. And then the last match I want to touch on was something I was really, really pleasantly surprised to find. Arisu Endo was on DDT's Gorgeous Night show, also on Sunday the 23rd, in Fukushima at the Toyota Crown Arena. Fukushima is where Arisu is from. I believe that is why Arisa kind of tag teamed over here. Literally speaking, she was a part of a tag team match. Her partner was Chris Brooks, so really interesting, unique pairing, Arisu Endo and Chris Brooks. And they wrestled against Moeka Haruhi, who I'm not too familiar with Moeka, but from my research, she wrestles in Ganbare Pro. And then Moeka's tag team partner was Kazuki Hirata. Hirata is the one in DDT who wears the sunglasses and dances a lot. He's really fun to watch. This match included the giant rubber band spot that Chris Brooks typically does. There was a missile dropkick off of Chris's shoulders, but he kind of had to bend down for Arisu to jump off of his shoulders because he was too tall for it, which was funny. And of course, a lot of dancing to Hirata's music. I was dancing along. It's a lot of fun. If you've never seen Kazuki Hirata wrestle, highly recommend you go watch really any DDT. All of DDT is also available on Wrestle Universe. They're a part of the Wrestle Universe family. You can check this one out. You can check the rest of the DDT catalog out. This match actually ended with Arisu pinning Hirata after the Juno Okite at 14 minutes and 27 seconds. Like I said, I was really pleasantly surprised to hear about this match. I actually saw it on Arisu's social media. She had posted her in the ring with Hirata, and with Chris Brooks. And I was like, what in the heck is going on? So I had to go to her match history and kind of look up where this was, and this was a delight. It's only about 15 minutes, highly worth your time. If you already have Wrestle Universe and you're watching TJPW, go check out this DDT Gorgeous Night show. Man, that was a lot of wrestling that we talked about inside of TJPW, outside of TJPW, in America, in Europe, upcoming matches. We talked about so much today. And we did a little bit of dancing with Kazuki's music, which I think I pulled a muscle when I did that, so I'll probably need the cold spray and the ice packs. But all that said, that'll bring us to the end of this jam-packed episode. On next week's episode, we'll review Step Forward 2.5 and the second part of the Organizing Festival once that's released on Wrestle Universe. We'll check in on the TJPW 2.6 press conference happening next week. We'll preview the OchaPro Corkwind show as well. So much to look forward to. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, we're at tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.